This show is sponsored by Sevi, answering all your commercial real estate needs. Sevi is the first commercial real estate company committed to the 4 C's: commercial real estate, community, content, and culture. Go visit Sevi at Sevi, S-E-V-I, properties.com. Again, SeviProperties.com. Hello everyone, welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you. We have Nanbo Liu. Nanbo is the co-founder and CEO of OpenGrid Technologies. Welcome to the show, Nanbo.
Thank you so much, Otto. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. Before we get started into your personal and business journey, I like the audience to get to know the business in case they haven't heard of it. And they're like, what is this OpenGrid? What is OpenGrid Technologies? If you can give us a brief, just general overview of what you folks do.
Yeah, so OpenGrid Technology has a mission to simplify the build-out of level 3 DC fast charging stations for commercial retail locations, especially grocery anchored properties. So we do this by adding lithium-ion battery into the charger to make more sustainable based on normal standard power that you can get virtually everywhere in those commercial properties. And also we provide the turnkey solution for commercial property managers to work with us because we cover the equipment, installation, and operation for them, leaving them a worry-free solution for folks who want to add free charging, fast charging to the properties. And you may be wondering, how are we going to recover the investment? We, like all other public charging network, we cover the investment from EV drivers who use our network on a daily basis.
You said you recover it from you said the daily drivers?
Correct, yes. It's like every other public charging network, you pay for the amount you consume based on kilowatt hours. And we charge people 45 cents per kilowatt hour. And on average, people will get 20 to 30 kilowatt hours per charge. And we make 15 to 20 bucks in revenue. And that's how we recover the investment in equipment, installation, and operation. It's similar to ATM business model where the ATM operator would cover the cost of the equipment just to get into those locations where drivers and in their cases, consumers really aggregate. So whereas in our case, we cover all that to encourage and to build out the fast charging access for customers who really demand it, especially for people who don't have private access to fast charging. I'm talking about the ones who live in apartments and condos who don't really have access to that kind of facility.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned this, I can't help but just, near me where I live, there is a gas station and they have Tesla charging station. So, and I'm not that familiar with the EV model and how it works and all that, since I don't have an EV vehicle. So for Tesla, I guess, how is that different from you?
Yeah, I mean, from Tesla, you must have seen they have maybe 5 to 10 stalls in that particular spot, right? And in addition to those 5, 10 stalls, they have power cabinets, transformer, and all that stuff. And the building of that particular 5 to 10 stalls is going to cost you anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000. So that's how much fast charging is going to cost you, because you have to add transformers to handle that increase in power, and you have to add a bunch of power cabinets to distribute that power from the transformer to 5 or 10 stalls you have in that spot. So in our case, we say, let's not do that. Let's keep our costs on check. How about we put everything we need just inside this particular charger? We put the batteries inside, we put everything we need inside, and make it a digestible size, make it plug and play option for more commercial properties to work with us, because more often than not, most commercial properties don't have that existing power. Because if you want to add Tesla level or EVgo fast charging level fast charging, you have to add those equipment, and that's going to cost you 12 to 18 months of time and up to $500,000 in capex. So we want to get rid of that and by adding everything we need inside the charger and make it a sort of turnkey solution to wherever we go.
And that's interesting. So this, let's say $500,000 capex expenditure, is the landlord responsible for that, or is it Tesla, whoever's installing it?
So typically it's going to be Tesla, but depending on the deal, I mean, for most fast charging stations, because they cost so much, I don't think any landlord will be interested in funding that kind of capex. So it's going to be Tesla, EVgo, or Electric America who's going to be responsible for that kind of capex. But there are so many providers of level 3 charging equipment. For the other companies, they operate as OEMs, where a customer, let's say landlord, who wants to add this charger on their property, they will have to go out and buy this charger and bunch of other equipment to put on their line. So that's the capex coming out of their pocket. So slightly different business model depending on where you look at things.
And when you see the Tesla stations, is it only Tesla vehicles that can charge there? Or if you have Lexus, Toyota, Ford, whatever, Mustang, can you charge there as well or no?
Yeah, great question. So right now, I mean, Tesla is opening up their charging facilities to other car brands, but it's very slow. I mean, I've seen people who are able to charge their like Tesla cars in a few stations in California, in New York. But for the majority of Tesla stations, they are only compatible with Teslas.
Okay. So and again, just because I don't have an EV, right, an electronic vehicle, if I'm pulling up, whether I have a Tesla or not, I'm familiar with the gas station. I come in, I swipe my card, or if I want to pay cash, go inside, I select whatever grade and put it in the handle. The
Yep.
EV station, is it similar? I guess I go in and I select and I swipe my card and I pay for it?
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, Tesla has probably the best in-class experience when it comes to charging because Tesla owns their cars, obviously, and they also own their network, meaning they can connect your car through their chargers effortlessly in the back end. So as a driver, if you're a Tesla owner, you can just pull in and unplug the charger, plug it right into the car, and off you go. You don't even have to worry about payment because the car and the charger is going to automatically connect themselves. Hey, sorry about that. I had some technical issue just now. My computer went black for like 5 seconds.
That's okay. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now, but are you able to see my face? Because I don't even see my own face on my Zoom.
There you go.
All right, cool, man.
Yeah. So you were saying it seamlessly as far as the network with Tesla, just because you don't have to, it's all there.
Right, it's all there. But for other car brands, especially, one of the reasons why we have heard so many complaints about third-party provider of fast charging equipment. I'm talking about like, I'm not going to name companies, but we've heard complaints. The reason for that, one of the reasons for that is because the charging equipment, the fast charging network don't talk to car OEMs. So there's a gap between the car, the communication of the car and communication of the charging equipment. And there's a extra layer of difficulty when it comes to payment. So you can say how things are being handled right now, which is not in a very, very effective way. So that's why we've heard so many complaints about people not being able to charge the car, and the third party, non-Tesla charging networks are like not very reliable at this point.
We started and we went right into it, Nanbo. That wasn't my intention, but I definitely want to continue with this subject. So are you originally from the DMV area?
No, I was not. So I was raised in China. So, but to use a analogy that is very common nowadays. I was raised in Appalachian region of China, but I moved to the US when I was 18. And I always wanted to do business because my mom had a small clothing store back then, and she used to run this chain. So I basically grew up watching her interacting with customers. So I think that really planted a seed in my little self. So I wanted to like say how businesses are done, and I've heard United States is an opportunity, and I just want to come here and say like how things are working out here, and maybe if I can find my opportunity, that'd be great.
Oh, that's amazing. So you said your mom had a chain of, you said clothing stores in China?
Yep.
How many stores did she have at one point?
Uh, just five, six stores. It
Okay.
was relatively small, but I mean, yeah, from my perspective, I think business is very similar across the board. Whether you're running maybe a Fortune 500 companies and you're running five store chain of a clothing store, I think a lot of things, a lot of decisions you have to make is similar to some degree.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, the basics is there,
Yep.
as far as what's needed. So you grew up in sort of the business. Were you helping your mom at a young age?
Sort of, yeah, yeah. I have heard like basically, yeah. What I did was I would like visit the store on a daily basis and basically watching her interacting with customers, watching her managing inventory, and sometimes help her doing that. So I think those are like really things that opened up my eyes and kind of introduced me to the business settings and business acumen that my mom had. And she's super passionate about it. So I became very passionate about doing business. And something I would like to mention is not only herself, but most of my aunts and uncles from my mom's side were entrepreneurs. So I think that, I mean, entrepreneurs turn to come from entrepreneurial family. So that I think that's what happened to me. Very, very classic.
Sounds like you got your mother's gene there in her family.
Yeah, yeah, I hope.
So growing up in China, Mambo, besides obviously helping your mom in her business, what were you into? Do you remember?
So I mean, yeah, so I think growing up in China really like so I was probably like a good student. So I spent a lot of my time. So I went through my middle school and high school in China. So I think that really like gave me this added perspective of how things work in China. And I pretty much spent like I said, I moved to the US when I was 18. So I spent past 10 years in the US learning how things are being handled here. So I think this really like these two perspectives really help me run my current business better because we are dealing with global supply chain, we are dealing with lithium batteries. I think I was able to find some of our suppliers in China, and now we are dealing with a global team. We are talking to people from like Spain, from UK. I think having this international background, international perspective really allowed me to do things more effective. I
Mhm.
want to put it that way. So yeah, that was a great experience overall.
That's great. When did you know that you wanted to come to the land of opportunity to America?
Yeah, so actually my cousin went to uh, a university in Ohio for his PhD. So we as a family were exposed to US culture and like this sort of American dream early on. And like watching movies, hearing about like news. And back then, like China was on track to be the number two economy in the world. So there were a lot of things going on between the China and US. I mean, most of the things are on the positive side. So those are like things that really opened my doors to this sort of land opportunity. And I figure why don't I just like go there and check that out myself?
Hmm.
So those are the things that really like propel me to make that decision.
So you came here and you came to do your undergraduate degree at first, right?
Yeah, yeah, I did my undergrad here, and
And
then a master degree, working new, working finance, and I met you in Georgetown. So yeah, that's how the story is lined up.
when you came to America at 18, was that your first time coming here, or you been here before?
No, I've been here before a couple of
Okay,
times when I was younger, like traveling, all
sure.
that stuff. Yeah, but
Okay.
I moved here when I was 18.
So you came and you did your first degree. What college was that?
That was University of Toledo. Uh, it is based in Ohio, Toledo, and
Hmm.
my degree was in business.
So you knew right away you wanted to go into business.
Yeah, I knew right away I wanted to do business. Actually, my major was in finance and international business. So I wanted to kind of um, like take full advantage of my international background and do business in that settings, and also know something about finance. So I think because finance is fundamental to many business, so that's why I majored in those two things.
No, that's great. I sometimes wish I would have majored in finance. I majored in economics, but
Close enough.
yeah, close enough. I just think with finance, there's definitely more opportunities out there in the marketplace if you choose to go the corporate route and work for a company, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, that's what I did because back then I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't have the best idea in the world. And my thought process was, I'm going to work for financial services for a while and really like poke around, like build up my skill set and build up my network. And then at some point, I will jump ship. Maybe I will open a boutique financial services firm, maybe in the US, maybe in China, maybe in somewhere else in the world. So that was my thought process back then. But as I enrolled in Georgetown University, I knew I was not very good at finance, at Excel per se. So I wasn't intrigued by doing all that kind of stuff in front of a computer screen. I'm more of an operator. That's what I realized while doing those jobs in finance. And I got this idea about EV charging in Georgetown. So I was like, what do I just like become entrepreneur right now and start building my company in my early 30s? So I that's why I went in.
You mentioned somewhere there also New York City. So the New York City you were working in finance, was that after Ohio, before Georgetown?
Yeah, yeah, that was all after Ohio, before Georgetown. And actually, I also have a degree from George Washington. Um, and I majored in Master of Science in Finance. And after that, I moved to New York to work for two investment banks in the city.
Hmm.
So, and next thing you know, COVID hit and we didn't have much work to do. And I was like working from home for almost a year. So I figured, uh, can I dial back a little bit? Can I like go back to school and to figure out what's the next thing for me? And that's why I enrolled in Georgetown.
Okay, okay. So you were already familiar with the Washington, D.C. area because you got your master's here in finance before you headed up to New York.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the area, and I like this area a lot. So that's why one of the reasons why I chose to go back to Georgetown, go back to this area.
That's interesting. More, you like it more than New York City?
I definitely like more than New York City.
What,
I don't
what,
want to go back to New York City for no reason.
why do you like this area so much, Nambo?
Well, so I like the tourist. I like the beautiful things. I mean, everything here is nicely laid out compared to, let's say, New York. And they, especially like, uh, some people will say Washington City is small but manageable. And I second that. I think that's a great way to put it. I like I like to walk around the city, and also the business ecosystem here is very robust, and it's small, but which means you get to know people, you run into familiar faces very often. So
Hmm.
that's something I like. And I don't think you get to experience similar things in New York, whether it's New York or San Francisco. And that's why I choose to set up the company here with my other two co-founders who are also Georgetown grad and MBA classmates.
No, that's amazing. I'm glad you stay here. I love this city. I grew up here, so I second that 100%.
Awesome.
So you said it was in Georgetown pursuing your MBA when you met your other two co-founders and you decided, how did the idea about EV, the electrical vehicle, and these stations come about in the first place?
Yeah, so this idea was born inside Plus project. So we had the chance to interview probably close to 100 stakeholders in EV and EV charging. We interviewed residents in apartment buildings and condos. We interviewed building managers, and we realized there was a huge gap between what people wanted and what was available in the market back then. And when I said back then, that was just over 15 months ago. So, and we also realized chargers cost over $50,000 each. I'm talking about level 3 DC fast chargers. And clearly that's more expensive than a lot of EVs, especially when most major OEM brands are investing so heavily to make cheaper and better EVs. There's no way a $50,000 charger is going to get away. So clearly, that's probably not going to be a very sustainable model. So we thought there's got to be something that we could do to improve or to bring something new to this industry. That's where we got started.
I love that. When you were, especially the part with interviewing the people, what did you notice there as far as the big gap in the marketplace, as what the consumer wanted compared what was out there?
Yeah, so I mean, we've heard a lot of things about not being able to charge very conveniently, and managers, they simply don't care about adding this extra infrastructure for their talents, because it's going to cost them some money. If you want to add level 2 charging, it's not a lot of money, but it's still something that's going to be out of pocket from the building managers. And they have so much hesitant when it comes to how many EV drivers am I going to have? Am I going to like treat this as a pure out-of-pocket cost, or is it going to help me attract more EV drivers to become my residents? So there's a lot of debate and hesitancy going on back then. So that's why there's a gap really coming, because as an EV driver, you cannot simply add this charging device on your own. You have to talk to the building manager, and more often than not, you'll get a no from that end. So clearly that system is not working. So we want to add something that is convenient enough, and it's at the same time powerful enough, so we're able to help those drivers charge very conveniently in places they already live, whether they already live there or it's very close to where they live.
Now, if you have the space and you're not in an apartment building, right? You have a single family home, maybe you're a townhouse, and you have space in your garage, you would have to pay out of pocket $50,000 to be able to come and have this installed in your home and charge your EV.
So this $50,000 cost is particularly for level 3 fast charging. So these are public chargers. For home chargers, they will cost you anywhere between $2,000 to maybe $10,000. So that's level 2 home chargers.
And they're slower.
They are slower, correct? Yes,
Okay.
but you still have to talk with your building management in order to get those chargers in.
Sure. Okay. So I guess as far as the different, you said level 2 and then level 3, is how fast it charges, the power.
Correct. Yes, the power. So we decide to exclusively focus on level 3 because we believe as a public charging network, people demand fast charging. So our chargers are 5 to 10 times faster than normal level 2. And that's the speed that drivers want to say from public charging network. And that's what we're going to focus on.
And level 3 right now is the fastest, the most powerful in the market.
Yes, level 3 is the most powerful, the fastest in the market, but level 3 also varies by speed range. So you can go from 50 kilowatt to 300 kilowatts. So 300 kilowatts is super fast, but that's going to require enormous amounts of power coming from the grid, which is not very easy to get. So most fast chargers we can see are from 50 kilowatt to 150. So that's the probably sweet spot for level 3 chargers in standard settings.
If you have an EV and you're low, let's say almost on empty, right? And you go there and you pull up to a level 3, how long on average would it take to go to 100% power in your vehicle?
Yes. Yeah. So 30 minutes is
Okay.
probably a good rule of thumb. But most EV drivers, if you're a daily driver, you probably don't want to charge your car all the way up to 100%. The car OEMs will recommend you to keep it at 80%, which is good for battery health and everything else. And according to a few studies, most people don't drive more than 150 miles 4 times a year. So chances are they only consume maybe 50 miles range every day. So to get 50 miles range, you can get away with maybe 10 minutes of charging on fast chargers. So what people do these days is similar to refueling the gas. So people will charge for 30 minutes, 45 minutes every week to get back to 80%. And they drive, they do their daily routine. And next week they come back and charge for another 80%.
So you just do it weekly, once a week.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, especially for people who live on public charging. For the ones who don't have private garage, who don't have private charging access in their apartments, who could not charge overnight, they do public charging maybe like at the most twice a week, or maybe once every week.
You mentioned, Nanbo, that this whole idea came from a class project when you were doing your MBA.
Yeah.
So, a class project and then in the end actually making the class project a reality is two different things.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened next? Because this isn't something like, hey, I want to open a little store here. There's a lot, like you said, there's supply and demand, there's logistics and a lot more than that.
Yep. Yeah, so great question. I mean, because of my international background, and by the way, my co-founders are not from the US either. So yeah, one of them is from China and the other one's from the UK. But we all believe in sustainability, and we all thought our international background could make the whole system work because in an industry like this one, EV charging, EVs, we need to deal with suppliers, manufacturers, technology providers, whether it's software, hardware from across the world. And yeah, so you have maybe battery suppliers in China, you have technology software suppliers in Spain, and we have our designers in Spain as well, and a software provider, a potential one in UK. So that's where our background in finance, in international business really come into play. So we basically networked the heck out of it, and we chose the best partners we could find because those partners were also in a huge need to find the people who can, like, especially outsiders who can build something new on top of what they already have, because they tend to be the OEMs who lack the knowledge, like the first line knowledge about the market, about the consumer, what consumers really want. And those are questions we can answer as, first of all, back then we were MBA students and now we're entrepreneurs. So those are the questions we could answer because we are really the boots on the ground. So we know what the customer want, we know how to make the business model work, and we work with our best partners to bring the product into reality. That's how we got this started.
How did you even find these partners and suppliers as MBA students? Was it just online, or did you go to conferences or events, or?
We did all that. We did everything we could. So we first Googled it, and then we pick up the phone, we code outreach, and we maintain a CRM list for the suppliers and partners who want to find. And we flew to visit them, and we visited their factories. We met with their CEO, with the stakeholders, and we watched the demo, and we also deliver our pitch to them in order to sort of encourage them to work with us. And also, I think it's a mutual selection process.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, we also integrate those partners as the internal team member. So we don't want them to become a supplier of ours. We want to work with them as a one team. So we have capital in place, we have investment in place to make sure everyone is pulling at the same direction. So that's how we got this business started. That was the setup of the business.
Oh, that's great. So you mentioned investors. So you have you have raised capital?
Yes, we have raised capital. We have raised capital from our technology partners, as well as a needing sustainability accelerator. It's called Generator. It's based in the US, and they are sponsored by one of the largest companies in Wisconsin. It's called US Venture, and those are our backers.
Okay. All right, great. And then also, I assume you also had to find your local team here to come here and do the installation process once you found sites, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We have very good connection with a local contractor, and we are good friends. We have good relationships, both personal level and business level. So, like I said, so everything we want to do, we try to make it as a one team, whether it's the technology provider or the installer, because to make EV charging work, to provide the best experience to commercial product managers and EV drivers, you have to make the whole thing work. And that is something this industry has not been doing very well for the past couple of years because they don't internalize a lot of those things. It's like, okay, I want to run a public EV charging network. Where do I buy this charger? Oh, I got a list of suppliers. I call them up and I find the best bidder. And okay, I need software. How do I do it? I find a software provider. But to leaders, those things are not working in a very effective fashion. So that's something we want to change in the market by internalize everything as much as we could in order to bring the best experience to people. But we have to be also strategically about what we internalize. So some things we would just leave it out, but for the most important things, we would just like internalize everything. So we get a full control. We know what goes into our chargers, what goes into the consumer's experience.
Okay. So there are a lot of other EV providers out there, like you say, they just, let's say, sub the work out to different partners or providers, but you're trying to bring everything in-house in one single, easier system.
Maybe not necessarily everything in-house. So couple things we want to keep it to ourselves. So first of all, the R&D. So we want to know how our chargers are built, what goes into it, because we build our charger specifically around the need of our consumers and our product market fit. So that is something we keep in-house. We would outsource manufacturing to a provider just to kind of improve the unit cost of manufacturing. So, and also, I should say this manufacturing provider is also one of our internal team. But the way it works is like we run separate entities. So still we have some certain level of control on the manufacturing process, so we know we can provide high quality chargers. And from the software side, it is also internalized because we know you have to really put a lot of thoughts into how you connect the charger and the charging environment. So that is something we choose to internalize. And as a stop right now, the installation in the DMV area is sort of semi-internalized because we want to run the best operation possible, at least for the DMV area. But it's a hardware business. If we go to other states, chances are we will need to find local installers to install those chargers and maybe give out or subcontract the operation part of it, the maintenance part of it to that local installer. So that's how things work in this industry.
How many locations are you in currently?
So we are going to have a pilot in Michigan by October, and we are looking to add 30 more chargers in the DMV area by next year.
Do you know, as far as the numbers now, but let's say you put 5 stations in Michigan or even here, how much would that cost OpenGrid to do all that? Since obviously that cost is not going to the landlord of the property, you're saying.
Right.
And how long does it take to recuperate that initial cost?
Yeah. I can answer your question without giving too specific details. But what I can tell you is our numbers are very cost effective. So what we're looking to do is the revenue ratio to the investment we put up front should be 1-to-1. So the revenue we can make in the first year should equal to the investment we spend on the equipment installation. So that's the ratio we're looking at. In terms of recouping the cost, we're looking at timeline of between 2 to 3 years. And the system is going to run for another 4 or 5 years. So those 4 or 5 years is where you're going to make profit.
Mm-hmm. And if you're the landlord of this property, you're not putting anything out of your pocket, right? There's no capital for you besides occupying space in a portion of your property. So your profit is immediately once it goes live.
Yeah, great question. So we actually have 2 options for landlord to choose. So if you were a landlord, you can choose to opt in 1 for a monthly land lease fee. And also the second option is we can give you a revenue share starting at 5% the first year, and then 10% next year, 15% the third year, and 50% the year after the third year. So you got 2 options for you to evaluate at. So the first model is a very standardized model in this industry where public charging operators pay the landlord a monthly fee. So that's something we also offer. We don't want to reinvent the wheel too much. But the other thing, the revenue sharing part, is something we learned from the ATM business model, which is going to help us convert more commercial properties into charging spots.
That's interesting. And who pays the electricity here?
We pay electricity.
Okay.
We pay electricity directly to whether it's Pepco or Dominion, if we're talking about the DMV area.
From a landlord perspective, and I guess it varies location by location as far as the traffic and the flow and everything else. But from the landlord's perspective, what makes better business sense as far as more profit? Is it just leasing you that portion of the property or having some kind of split revenue share?
We only target grocery anchor locations at this point because grocery anchor locations are highly centralized across the board and they have good traffic. People go do grocery basically every week. and there's a part pattern there. So we are pretty certain that we can increase the EV traffic for grocery anchor locations. So that's good for the landlord and they're like grocery tenant. So that's number one. The other thing is we are going to form another deal with the grocery store to introduce some sorts of points and rewards program to ensure that our charging station have high utilization rate, because that's going to encourage people, EV drivers, to come use those charging station and shop at the grocery store. So you can say there's a lot of natural alignment of interest in grocery anchor locations. So that's at least that's what we're focusing on right now before we really group become a more stable, more late stage company.
So besides getting a deal done with the landlord of the property, you would also try to get a deal done with the grocery store of the property.
Yeah, that's step number two. Step number one, get the deal done with the commercial property, whether it's going to be based on a revenue share or a monthly fee. And then step number two, getting this deal done with grocery store to ensure we have a high utilization rate among our chargers.
That's smart. It makes total sense because you see that with some shopping center where there's a Giant. They also have a gas station, or the
Yeah,
Costco, the
exactly.
BJ's, and you get a discount off your gas price, right?
Yeah. That's why we are trying to introduce to the EV charging market. And I promise you, this is something new.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. For how much space would you typically take? I know I'm sure it depends how many stations you have, but is it a few parking spaces? Because obviously the chargers are going to be somewhere on the grass, I assume, more than likely, and somewhere in a
Mhm.
corner, right?
Yep. Not a lot. So actually, we typically convert to charge parking space because we install our chargers like we do two chargers as a set. So we need two parking space, and the charger has everything it needs to run inside the charger, inside the enclosure systems. So our chargers are have a small footprint. So we only need a few square meters of space to set up the charger. And we are going to need a sub panel, maybe a switch gear and sub meter in order to pay for electricity separately. So those are basically the equipment you need to install our charger.
So you said two parking spaces per charger?
Uh, One parking space per charger. So
Oh,
we
okay.
install two chargers as a set
Okay.
for one location right now. So maybe there's going to be a need to increase the number of chargers to four chargers or six chargers in the future, but that's for the future. Right now, we install our standard package includes two chargers for one location.
Oh, wow. So there's only two spaces, two parking spaces that they may lose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two parking space. And so EV drivers like that because EV drivers know they can park the car and there's always going to be a spot for them if the chargers are not in use. So actually they like that. So it's not like they are losing space to regular cars. It's more like EV drivers know they have a guaranteed spot in that grocery anchor location. So, and also grocery anchor locations, more often than not, they are never close to 100% utilization range when it comes to number of parking they have available. So they are not really losing anything from a landlord's perspective.
Yeah. That's very good. Right now your team, Nambo, is it just you and your two co-founders? So is it a total of three of you, or how does your team look right now?
Yeah, we have a total of three co-founders, and we have also two people working on the technology, and they also have their own team, and we work together on weekly basis to develop the product. I would say these are our remote team, and some of those folks work on part-time fashion, and we also have partners work with us on software and installation. And these are also our remote team, and those folks work on part-time basis. And we also have some sales force and who also work on part-time basis. So I would say the core team is three of us, but the remote team already has close to 10 people.
Okay. Wow, that's great. If someone's listening to this, Nanbo, and they're getting inspired to pursue maybe their entrepreneurial journey and open their business, whatever it may be, it could be in any industry. You're living it right now firsthand because OpenGrid Technologies has been established, what, a year and a half or so?
Year and a half, yes.
Yes. So what advice would you give to that individual listening and say, hey, I want to go out there and open my own business? You living it right now, what would you advise them?
Yeah, I will say this, and I got this from Elon Musk, which I think really resonate with me. Uh, so for people who want to become entrepreneur, they should think to themselves that I would rather be optimistically wrong rather than pessimistically right. So I think it's very important because you make decisions on a daily basis, whether it's small or big, but ultimately, more often than not, the effectiveness of the decision is going to it's going to become consequences of how far you really want to push it. It becomes a consequences of your motivation and how far you're willing to go. And if you are optimistic about the decision you want to make, about the future you believe in, you will do everything you can to make it work. Like you said, we were students. How are we going to build something in this hardware business, in EV charging? It's a relatively mature and stable business. So, but if you really believe in the future that you want to build, and you will really have a lot of encouragement and motivation to make it a reality. So that has been working for me personally, and I would just share that advice to anyone.
I love that. That's great advice. Um, you're right now in the infancy stages of with OpenGrid Technologies, but what would you say is your favorite fail so far or setback that you've had as a team and a company, and what you learn from that?
Yeah, yeah. I think the one of the things we're trying to work on is to get UL certification. And I actually didn't realize UL certification is going to cost that much money. So it's going to cost us probably close to $300,000 just to get the certification done. And it's going to cost us a lot of time, well over 8 to 10 months. So something that I wish I knew better is as MBA founders, we so especially when you are interacting with the real world, you need to do a better homework in order to figure out like what might those like bottlenecks be. So then you can lay out your timeline more nicely. So I think that's something we're trying to work on. And fortunately, we're able to get everything back on track with the money that we need to get the certification. And also with the business momentum, we need to showcase to investors to continue raise money to support future deployment of our surge chargers next year. So we wasted a couple months, I would put it blindly, but we're able to get back on track. So I would say just do a better homework, especially if you're running a hardware business, because hardware is hard. And you can never underestimate how much time it's going to take you to do things in the real world. It's not like software business. So I would say we should learn better about the time and energy requires to do a hardware business. So that is something we didn't really anticipate well.
So right now you're on the process of getting that certification?
Yes, yes. So the way it works is you build a charger first and you prove the technology and you know that is something you're going to bring to the market for the next year or maybe 2 years. And at that point, you submit your equipment to the certification agency, and they are going to start looking at it and evaluating everything. And that's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So it's not like software business where there's no authority to kind of keep eye on you. So you can build your software, you can write the codes and ship it out next day. That's not happening in this industry.
Nanbo, with three co-founders, how do you guys divide and conquer? Do you focus on something specifically while your other one here and the other one there and some other department?
Yeah. So I would say as a early stage startup, the three of us we all overlap each other. So we do things pretty much a lot of times. I would not say like every time, but a lot of times we do similar things, but still we also divide and conquer. So for example, I basically do everything. So, but I mostly spend my time on the market side of things, like building business relationships and reaching out to investors, getting investment and talking to customers. And also, I talk with engineers to make sure that they are building the product that we want to bring to the market. And we also have a co-founder who has a PhD, and he's got experience in researching and development for research projects. So he spent maybe 50% of his time working on the product because he really knows a lot about product development. So that's sort of how we divide our labor. And also like we're all MBA trained students, so we know how to talk business languages. So a lot of times we also work in the same projects because we all know what goes into our business model, our target customer segment, and so that's basically how we make it work.
That's great. Are there any specific habits or traits you feel that you have that have helped you in business, or if not business, maybe just on your personal side of things?
Yeah. So I'm an outdoor person. So I ride motorcycles, and I like camping. So I would say a reason why I choose to become a climate or sustainability entrepreneur is because I enjoy doing things outside. So I enjoy like going out, servicing the charger, talking to customers, driving an EV, charging the EV, using our own charger. So I enjoy doing all that. So maybe my daily life, my dream daily life is spend maybe 50% of time in the office and the rest 50% time going out, working in the field. So I think that's my personal trait that's going to propel me to continue to pursue this business in EV charging hardware in reality.
Is your bike electric?
No, I actually not yet. So I
So
don't really have a bike or car. So right now I would tell people I'm next level. I walk or I use public transportation. But my next bike will be an e-bike, that's for sure.
oh, that's great.
I got rid of my car, my gas cars, my gas powered bike back then. So right now I walk.
What would you say is your biggest challenge with your role today at OpenGrid?
Yeah. So yeah, great question. I mean, I think there's a lot of challenges. A lot of things could go wrong, especially when you're trying to bring something new, both on the product side as well as the business model side. So I would say the biggest challenge for us right now is can our technology work for everyday drivers? Is this something that people going to like? So we worked very hard to make sure that we build something that people are going to like. But like I said, we are going to have a pilot in October. So that is when we're going to put our technology into the real test with not a huge number, but relatively large number of real drivers. from the real world. So that is something that is when we're going to hear back from the drivers about technology. So that is something we're trying to work very hard to get across that. But I wouldn't say that's a challenge, but I think that really evidence what we've been focusing on and what could either make or potentially break the company, if you put it that way.
I understand. When you're going into a grocery anchored center, which I understand that's your ideal location, right? How would the consumer know that OpenGrid has two chargers, two charging stations there?
Yeah. So our chargers are going to be above ground. So people are going to see it when they visit those grocery anchor locations, shopping centers. And also they can find our chargers using a third-party app, or if they just Google EV charging on Google Map, they'll be able to find it very conveniently.
What would you say, Nam, was the main difference between, I guess, you, OpenGrid, and other similar companies, whether Tesla or other ones?
Yeah, great question. So we are not competing head to head with Tesla or EVgo because they are in the locations that we don't want to get into because they require massive number of power to sustain their charging facilities. Whereas our focus is in locations where those other fast charging providers couldn't get into because of construction limits or infrastructure limits, power availability, those issues. So I would say we are in the locations where it's probably inaccessible to other fast charging providers, but also we are 5 to 10 times faster than normal level 2 players. So that's where we really bring this value to EV drivers because we are faster and we are in the locations where they already visit.
And that's the reason why having two chargers instead of many more than that?
Yes, correct. That's the reason of having two chargers. But there's a chance that we might want to add more chargers to one location, but we need more real world data to back that up.
Okay, great. Coming to an end here soon, what are you most excited about for the next couple of years for you in OpenGrid?
Yeah, for next year, we want to build 30 more chargers in the DMV area. And once we hit that goal, we are going to put maybe ARR close to $1 million, and also really help people charge very conveniently, especially for people who don't have access to private charging, like I talked about earlier, the ones who live in apartment and condos. That's for next year. Couple years down the road, we want to expand our network to other geographical regions and really build a robust network that really aligns well with the stakeholders, whether they are EV drivers or commercial property managers. So we want to see our chargers in, I wouldn't say everywhere, but in places where it's going to make a difference for EV drivers' life, especially for people who don't have access to private charging. And that number is going to keep growing because rentership is growing at a faster pace than home ownership. So those are a group of people we want to help. And also more and more people are relying on public charging. So those are people we want to help as well.
Yeah, that's great. Nanbo, when you're not busy operating and growing OpenGrid, what do you like to do for fun in your free time?
Yeah, tennis. Yeah, I play tennis a lot. So if you play, we can play together. I really enjoy playing tennis. And also, since I don't have a bike, I would just walk after dinner or early in the morning or go out to gym. So nothing particularly special, but I think those are my good habits to keep my energy level up.
That's good. It always pays to be healthy. That's number one, health.
100%.
Yes. Nanbo, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If people want to learn more about you and OpenGrid Technologies, where can they go to, please?
They can go to my LinkedIn and they can just find me, search my first and last name. And also they can go to our website, leave a comment there. And our website is opengridtech.com.
Great. And for you who are just listening, his name is Nanbo, Nanbo, and Liu, Liu, in case you want to connect with him on LinkedIn. Again, thank you again, Nanbo. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Otto.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.